Okay, hi everyone. So today I'm going to speak in English, sorry. I have only 10 minutes, so I will try to be on time. So please enjoy your drink as well. So I'm going to talk about YugabyteDB and Hashicorp Vault. So my name is Ethan Gwen. I used to work for Yugabyte before, but I quit recently, and Toyota and so on. And now I'm working for Hashicorp as a staff resident architect. Okay, so what is Vault, right? I'm pretty sure people already know, but just quickly, Vault is a secret management services, right? Everything is identity-based, meaning machine, user, everything is have an identity, right? And basically, you can put your secret inside Vault, and Vault will manage the life cycle of your secret, like rotating, creating leads, and so on and so forth, right? So Vault can support multi-type of secret, so static secret, secret that you can rotate it, dynamic secret on demand, database secret, as well, certificate, keys, and you can do encryption as services, tokenization, and so on and so forth, right? So Vault can do all of that. And today I'm just going to focus on the dynamic database credential. So what is basically database secret engine, right? So Vault can generate credential dynamically, right? Based on how you configure Vault, of course. And with that, you can basically give everyone or every machine or every container or whatever unique credential for database access. And Vault has also a leasing mechanism, meaning this credential could be have a time to live, for example, for 1 hour, and then will disappear, right? Or you can rotate them, renew them, and so on and so forth, right? So Vault will take care of the life cycle of your credential. So for the database credential type, basically there is 3 types, right? The first thing is, I would say, dynamic, right? Meaning Vault is going to generate the credentials, so username and password, based on the role you're going to configure, the database role you're going to configure inside Vault. I'm going to give you some example after that. You can as well rotate the root credential. So your database root credential, Vault can rotate for you. And you can use static roles, right? Meaning you are going to define roles inside your Postgre database, and you're going to link Vault. And Vault is going to generate the password for the static role username, right? So for the dynamic database credential, basically, you're going to configure Vault, and when the user or the machine, or whatever is an identity in Vault or client, Vault will basically on demand create the user, right, and the password, and the role attached, of course, based on the configuration you set up in Vault. And that would be dynamic, right? So for example, if I request another credential, I'm going to get a different username, a different password, and so on and so forth, right? Those dynamic credentials, they have an expiration, meaning, for example, after an hour, those credentials will not be valid anymore, right? So you can renew them if you want, right? The static database role is basically you are going to define a role inside your database, right? And then you are going to use And then you're going to create a role in the database, assign this role to a user, right? And when you configure Vault, Vault is going to generate the password for this username, right? And with that, so for example, the client is going to ask for credential, right? Vault is going to generate, I mean, of course, in the database, it's going to generate a password for this client and give you back the password, right? With the static database role, you can also automatically rotate the password, right? So Vault can rotate the password for you, and so on and so forth. So the difference between the dynamic and the static is in the static, the role will be defined in the Postgre, right? And in the dynamic, it will be created on demand with the new username and password and so on, right? In this case, the password will be different only. And then the root credential rotation. So when you configure Vault, you are going to give to Vault the root credential, right? Because Vault need to be able to create a user, assign a role, create a role, and so on and so forth, right? You can ask to Vault to rotate the password for you. But the important things there is only Vault will know the root credential. You can't retrieve the root credential. Only Vault know the root. So that's why it's best in this case to have kind of backup root password somewhere, right? Because when you do that, only Vault internally will know the root credential, right? So, I mean, YugabyteDB, where everyone, I mean, we have enough presentation, but Postgre++, scalability, built-in resilience, is an enterprise Postgre and so on, and enterprise scale. You can have, you know, HA and so on and so forth, right? So I think Kartik did like already a presentation on that. So one thing is actually Yugabyte create its own plugin for Vault, for Postgre, right? Of course, you can use, if you want to, the existing Postgre plugin, but Yugabyte create a plugin because this plugin can use what we call the smart driver features, like load balance and so on, right? By default, if you don't use this plugin and you use the normal Postgre, then you don't have the Yugabyte features, right? Yeah, so as I say, you can use the Postgre plugin if you want. The main difference, I mean, important things there is this plugin needs to be installed, right? When you install the Vault, you need to install this plugin because it's not installed by default. But the Postgre database is built in, right? So basically, it will be installed by default with Vault. So you don't need to do anything else in this case. So it's up to you if you prefer to use the Yugabyte plugin or the default Postgre plugin. Okay, so just quick examples. Sorry, I don't have much time. I don't have a demo because, yeah, 10 minutes. The way it works is basically in Vault, you're going to enable the database secret engine, right? And after that, you're going to configure Vault, right? So the first configuration is basically the root credential, right? In this case, I'm using the Yugabyte plugin, right? And the difference here is I can use the Yugabyte specific connection option like load balance or YBC or refresh, etc., right? So that will configure Vault, right? With the username root or admin for Yugabyte and the password. You have to do this configuration the first time. Then if I want to rotate the root credential, basically it's a write command in Vault, in force, and database rotate root Postgre. And that is going to rotate the root credential inside your database. And from this point, only Vault will know your credential, your root credential. The dynamic, as I said, you are going to configure a new role, what we call a role in Vault as well. So the name of the database, right? So it's the one I configured before. And then the create statement. So basically, when I'm going to get this role, I'm going to create, for example, a role with a login password, and I'm going to grant table select or whatever. You can basically say, hey, when I call these things, this is the creation statement I want to do, right? And then here you have the default and max detail, right? So, which means in this case, these things, the credential they're going to get will have a time to live to 1 hour, right? It will expire after 1 hour by default. You can also say, hey, I want this to be for 2 hours. The maximum will be 24 hours. So you can also configure that. And to get the credential, just to read, right? And when you do that, Vault is going to generate dynamically, basically the login and password. The static roles. So as I said, the static role will be defined inside the database already, and it will be linked by the username, right? So inside my database, I created the static roles with the login being my username, in this case. Now I will be able to read again and to get the credential for this username. So in this case, the password would be generated by Vault. And then the rotation, you can also, when you are setting the static roles, you can say, hey, I want this password to be rotated, for example, every hour. Or you can say, hey, I want this password to be rotated on the schedule using cron, like Sunday, every whatever, right? So you can do that as well with Vault. So basically, with Vault, can manage access to your database automatically, right? And all those passwords, as I said, could be rotated, could expire, and so on and so forth. That's the main things with what we call the database secret engine. Yeah, that's all for me. Sorry, only 10 minutes. Next time I will do a demo. If there is no question, I guess that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.